Well, if you get past the title, because I think I'm going to title this, Can Silver Go to Hundreds of Dollars an Ounce? I know I was making fun of that type of statement before, but, there is an outside chance that can actually happen. And I'm showing something here like called karma. None of these are copyrighted picture, nothing. These are like, but I was going to tell you that, if the too bigs to fail, right? Yeah, I guess silver could go to anything. And unfortunately, it's going to mean a lot of social unrest. It's going to be a lot of upheaval. And I'm actually going to talk about something that is probably going to be a much better investment than silver. That's going to take some old-time labor that anybody can do. That would be a better investment than silver that you can get into at any time, no matter what, as long as you have the skills. It's me one of those work investments. But anyway, if the too bigs to fail, fail. Because all the shenanigans, I swear to God, I always seen this, the shrewd outsmart themselves, the shrewd paint themselves in a corner, but they always seem to, jump out of the situation or land like a cat on all fours, no matter how they're thrown up in the air. That's one of the things, I'm like, I wouldn't do that to a cat, but you know what I mean? That's an expression. But in the meantime, I just want people to kind of kick back on this silver deal. Coins were the safest bet for the most part. Not necessarily 100% always that way, but the thing is that when you have coinage, I think you're a lot safer than these brokerage accounts, because I'm going to actually talk on here a little more at length because I'm kind of familiar with this stuff. A lot of these people that aren't brokers, they pass a test like a Series 6, Series 7, and the game is, it's almost like, the same thing lawyers do, attorneys. They're ambulance chasers. They look for clients with big bucks. If they have several clients and they got, say, $20 million of their clients' money under their belt as a broker, they get $100,000 for a year for basically doing nothing. Not doing much, really. Not doing too much, I mean, yeah, you have to have the test passed and all this kind of stuff, but it doesn't really mean your money's safe with them. It's like an illusion. It's almost like the illusion of polished marble when you walk into a bank. Why do banks... a bank can actually be made out of plywood or something. I mean, the front office, it could look like really cheap stuff there. It could be plastic chairs and stuff instead of... They always do all that stuff in a bank where they have like marble and every glass and fancy decor inside with plants and artwork and everything when you walk in a bank, because it makes you feel like your money's safer. It's part of the image. Image is a lot to do with a lot of things. It's an illusion of safety. That's really what it is. The brokerage accounts are much less safe. But, I'm going to also just tell you a couple other things here, because I want to touch on a lot of subjects on this, and I want to give you a rundown on different things that maybe the others don't talk about as much. But, like Warren Buffett, he's talking about Hillary Clinton's going to be the president probably in 2016, unless she has problems with her health that are really bad. That's the one thing that can actually screw her up. But I could tell you this thing. I could tell you this, that Warren Buffett was one of the jackasses that was too big to fail. He was one of the guys that, I hate this because a lot of people... now I'm showing a tractor picture for a reason here, because I'm going to discuss this in a minute. A lot of people in the money world, they respect Warren Buffett because he has a lot of money. Yeah, he's not stupid, but he's a jackass, okay? He's another George Soros. He's another one of the assholes. Well, that's really what I put it. They're one of the garbage on the top. The garbage and shit, Scott floats to the top. But they are the too bigs to fail. Actually, Warren Buffett and people like him were behind the bailouts in 2008, 2009. Because if he didn't get those bailouts, he would have got chopped down a lot. He wouldn't have been in a poorhouse, but he wouldn't be anywhere near he is today. The bailouts fixed the too bigs to fail, which goes back to the first thing I was talking about. When there isn't money to bail people out, what's going to happen then? Now, I'm showing this tractor for a reason. This is the thing I was going to say is actually probably your primary number one investment that you can do. maybe you could do it as in different ways. I mean, maybe you can get an agricultural fund, maybe even a Rogers fund. He's a guy that's behind this, Jim Rogers. He says this. I don't particularly like Jim Rogers. Like maybe he's okay, but I mean, the guy's not doing us any favors. He's out of the country. He's in Singapore. He wants his kids to speak Mandarin Chinese because he figures the West is going down. He says, screw you guys over there. I'm over here on the other side of the world where things are going to go right, and I want to make money. So he's not really out here to do us favors. But I think he's absolutely correct about his investment in agriculture, and agriculture is going to be the hot ticket item in the future because nobody wants to do it. Everybody wants to sit on their ass, not do any kind of physical work. This is actually going to be very, very important because of other things coming up, and I talked about on other videos about the climate change is actually, climate change is something that's going on forever for billions of years, and if you go by the old formulas, the stuff that's been proven all the way back to the Middle Ages, the solar activity and the sunspots and the solar cycles are all indicating we're going into a mini ice age versus global warming, like these guys are trying to push global warming into carbon tax. Well, that's all going to contribute to not only currency problems causing food to go up higher, but the global mini ice age that we're going into is going to cause food to go up much higher. So that could be one of your, and it could be an investment that either you garden yourself for your own personal benefit, or you open up a farm, or you have some trees, or whatever, or maybe you use some of this farming on land to get the farming real estate tax exemption. Like a lot of times in different states, they allow you, if you make $500 or $1,000 in revenue off of your produce of the land, you have the real estate tax, real estate tax rate on your land, which is extremely low for farming. Your land is designated agricultural as long as you can bring in that $500 or $1,000, depending on the state. So it could be very beneficial in a lot of other ways. The other thing is, too, you can also just store food, just like you're storing silver. You could do it in bags of brown rice, or you can do it in 30-year freeze-dry food, which I have a lot of that stuff. I think I'm going to break some out and test it. Some of the scrambled eggs and bacon and whatever. So that type of stuff. You could do that. You can invest that way, too. But I am also suspecting, I'm not really too worried about Hillary Clinton getting in office. She might croak in office or whatever. I mean, I'm not going to get down his political trail too much. But I'm looking at it from an angle of, how's that going to affect everything. Now, today, I know the markets, they didn't wind up being over 400 points down, but they wound up going 400 points down at one point in time on the Dow. Oil is actually going up slightly, partly because of the severed diplomatic relations between Saudi and Iran. And that was because Saudi executed one of these Iranian clerics or something, and the Iranians all stormed the Saudi embassy in Tehran, and I was like, oh, whatever. But, that's helping the oil prices to go up. Tensions bring up oil prices. I mean, there's like loads of oil in this earth. But that's not really what moves the price. It's it's crazy. I know it's rigged, too, but also anytime, if there was like a nuclear bomb that went off in a couple of the Saudi refineries, you'd see oil over $120 a barrel inside of like 2 days. But, that's not going to happen. But, I mean, it wouldn't affect the supply on this earth. But that's my point I'm making. It's like these psychological, political tensions and things that happen in war and conflict that move the prices. And that actually is what moves silver. And that is actually where it can move to astronomically extremely high prices. Now, actually, I want to tell you something else, too, about on a more of a personal note. I was at the firm, CPA firm this weekend, and, I don't like going there, to tell you the truth. I'm like, I keep one foot in there because it's advantageous to me in some ways. But I'd rather do this stuff. And the guy I was talking to the guy, and I was saying to him, you know, I says, I make some money on YouTube. I don't want to discuss. I shouldn't talk about that, I guess, on all. But I was saying that every year it's tougher to generate, revenue, whatever, like on red videos or whatever. And I said that's just how it is. You got to do more and more for less, right? And I says, there's a number of factors that are involved. There's more people, whatever it is, right? And he comes up with this plan about, go do this and go. I was like, I ain't doing that shit. And I says, and I'm like, and I finally told the guy, I says, I'm not doing this because I can make a lot of money. I'm doing this because I want to bring out the truth. And you know what? That is the absolute truth, what I'm telling you viewers right now. I am actually doing this to tell you the truth. I'm a fighter, and I am not doing this because this is the most profitable thing. That's a big difference, and I don't think there's too many people out there actually in that ballpark, no matter what they say. And I can tell you this, that most people that are professionals, they're always coming up with schemes to make money, and not only sometimes they don't shoot themselves in the foot. They actually make a lot of money, but they shoot humanity in the foot. Because liars place their interest ahead of yours, and even though I talk like a plain Joe, or maybe sometimes, what do they say, I talk like who is that guy they say, Tommy Chung. They sound like Tommy Chung. I didn't know I sound like Tommy Chung. Maybe I do. But I am not I'm not one of those. I do know my stuff, but people that talk real sweet and they talk in a certain manner, they're packaging a bunch of garbage in a cute, glittery talk. It's, $500 words around lies and bullshit. And I hate that stuff. To tell you the truth, I hate it. I always have hated it. I always will hate it. I'll just give you on a personal note, my uncle was a CPA. He was one of the top in New York City. He had his own business with some of the top clients. He was in Who's Who. And I can tell you one thing. He was the only one I ever seen that was a CPA that hated the professionals with a passion. He just even used to have a softball team. It was like on a weekend softball team, like baseball, softball. And he used to call it Snob Hill, just to mock those phony bastards. I can't stand them. I'm not doing this because I'm out here to screw people or sell bullion or some shit. I definitely am not. But on a bright note, if you voted for Obama, here's a cute bumper sticker for anybody. Honk, I'm paying for your mortgage. You know how that deal works. There's all these subsidies. But, again, I'm going to talk about this thing where we had, karma comes around. Karma's a bitch. In the case of Obama, he hooked up a lot of his supporters with different types of benefits and things like that. But in the other case, he actually, this cat, Rocky, get the hell off here, you jerk. This guy is getting so friendly with me, this cat, he's like coming over here all the time and he's doing stuff. But, anyway, these guys don't leave me alone, man. They're more dedicated than dogs, the cats, So they're coming over here and he's stepping on keyboards and having fun, and now you know why my mic goes out. But anyway, but the thing is, karma comes around, and it's a real bitch because, now that we have Obamacare that's actually kicked in, they're going to owe like $965 and so many pennies for nothing. If that means you do not have health insurance, you got to pay a fee. And, it's unconstitutional as all hell. I mean, it's like, I don't even, there was absolutely nothing that it could be based upon with law in any way, shape, or form. But, on the other hand, it's like, it's there. They just did it anyway. So, that's one reason I'm not worried about Hillary, because despite maybe some initial bad things that may be coming about, karma is going to come around for her supporters. So that's just how that is. But, I really look at it like this. Most women are not for Hillary Clinton. I know that. And there may be a game where Trump, I know I like what Trump is saying too. Somewhat. even though I wouldn't say all the shit he's saying. But I could tell you one thing, Dad. He may be playing a Ross Perot, but he's playing it a lot stronger, a lot better, because we're already aware of the game that Ross Perot played to get Bill Clinton in office. But like I said, if it happens that way, there's always this thing I always want to say, this one axiom. The shrewd often outsmart themselves. And, even these... I have to say this, not just because I don't talk to the elite. I'm going to tell you this. I really, really, truly think that all these electronic markets, most of them, cannot be trusted. And there will be a run on them. And when there's a run on electronic markets, things can change faster than there was in a paper run on the banking system and also the stock markets. It's a matter of there's not going to be any trust left. In other words, even if a lot of things are very, very strong still, if there's a portion of our, equities and securities and bonds and types of investment vehicles that are no longer safe, it can create a panic. And people will say the illusion and all that, advertisement that all these people put out, like it could be Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citigroup, whatever, that, your money's safe. People could freaking panic. They might just want cash. And, that could actually lead to, well, maybe they want silver. Because I'll tell you this as a final thing here, because the, the interest rates that have been raised a slight titch has already been acknowledged by the major media as a mistake. And what that is already playing out. You can see what's going on in the markets. Now, I know the markets are not actually reflecting all the stuff that's from 2015 yet. It should even come down further because, but I don't think they're going to come down extremely bad because they're trying to get Hillary elected. If it happens during Obama's administration, she'll lose just because the markets came down and all that kind of crap. But the thing is, it's like as they did the interest rate hike, very small. It's already reflected in the markets. It's actually having repercussions. They're saying it was a mistake. They're going to bring the interest rates back to zero again. I'm pretty sure it is. It's a guess, but I'm pretty sure of it. And there's only one final thing they can do to, out of all the steps they even talked about years ago that they were going to do, that Ben Bernanke even outlined years ago. The last thing is devalue the dollar. And we already have in place where the Chinese yuan is a world reserve currency. So your silver could really go up to hundreds of dollars an ounce in some situations. It's an outside chance, but it could. But you know what you really need to look at more than anything is the silver-gold ratio. There's a limit to where that's going to go. Right now, the silver looks like a real good buy because of that silver-gold ratio. It looked like a good buy even when it was $20-something because of that silver-gold ratio. It looked like a good buy even at $20-something because of the overall MACD. But so much for these predictors, But, I never told anybody about it's a good buy at 40-something or 30-something. But, the economy will take off on its own. The shenanigans that these people are playing with, trying to affect the levers of the financial system by adjusting interest rates and doing some stimulus here and there. Actually, they don't do any stimulus for where it's needed. And I actually always have a video on the bottom of my list about, about local currencies stimulating the economy to a great effect without actually even using anywhere near the amount of stimulus they need, because it went into the people that are productive versus the lazy freaking suits that are too big to fail. The economy takes off on its own. That's an important thing. We do not need these financial managers. You know what? I'll tell you this. I said this in other videos, but maybe you might have missed it. The actual 1 basis point or 1% of 1%, the most wealthy in this country, by and large, are attached to the banking and finance industry. In fact, that is, in reality, the problem. They produce really nothing. Yeah, they might work hard, but they're working at you know, running the casino in their favor. And, you know, pretty much everybody, there's a lot of underlying people that are part of that. We'll call it the matrix, if you want to call it that. But that's exactly what the hell it is. And when you're part of that, you're part of the evil. I mean, it's not that easy not to be part of it. You got to semi-be part of it. But you don't have to freaking totally gravitate towards it either. But, you know, people will fix things on their own. Just like old girl here is fixing a motorcycle. You don't need somebody with a bag of forms and, pens and sitting there like, creating a little invoice for every freaking time you turn a bolt. You don't need something like that. You just got to get out there and do it. That's one reason why. But it's work, and they call it work because it's not that easy. But, that's why people that are in these office fields and things like that will never do farming. A lot of people want to have a fancy title and an easy job, sit on their ass and do nothing. They don't want to actually get out there and do things. I actually like to, I don't know much. I don't have a green thumb or nothing. I'm not a farmer, but I get out there and do stuff. I get out there and get the hammers out, get the welders out, amateur welder for sure, but you can turn the wrenches. I'm not too bad at that. I could probably have been a pretty good mechanic. I keep one foot in the real world, and I stay away from the evil bastards too. So, but anyway, I just want to leave you with this thought that it is really possible that silver can go up to hundreds of dollars an ounce, but do watch very carefully that silver-gold ratio because there is going to be a pump and dump involved with this bullshit again. I can guarantee it again. A lot of the major silver. Now, I think most people realize I'm not attached with the brokerage people or the pill people pushing silver and doom and gloom. I'm not attached with those people at all. I think most people realize that, even though there's been a couple of people that said I am. I'm not. But I think that, when silver goes up, I think everybody's going to make money. As far as everybody catching it out at the top, no. You're not going to catch it at the exact top. But if you make good money and you go to another good, strong, hard capital asset, that is a producer, that's something that has a lot of utility for many years, well, you won out, okay? You won out. But, be it as it is, silver's not the only damn thing there's out there. Actually, some of the oldest stuff out there that's probably... It's a shame that, I always felt bad for the farmers because I know the banksters have always screwed over the farmers. They always have. We got the utmost respect for farmers because farmers, man, not only is it about growing crops, man, you got to know how to fix all kinds of mechanical stuff. You got to be a jack of all trades. You got to be a PhD in a million different areas, whether it be plumbing, framing, building, painting, doing fence building, building roadways, all the types of complicated machinery out there, you name it. Plus knowing everything there is about agriculture and livestock. They got no respect, as Rodney Dangerfield says, And it's like, whatever, you can't go to college for that, that's for sure. And yet, our survival and us existing day to day all depends on farmers. Jim Rogers is going to be right about that. But during a time when we have economic crisis and even energy prices going way up due to tensions in the Middle East and silver going up, food's going to go up too. So silver could possibly go to hundreds of dollars an ounce. And, really how that can happen is if karma comes back at the too bigs to fail and it gets squished by their own stupid policies. Which to me is okay, but then again, it's going to catch all of us too. We're going to be those dominoes before the last domino hits them. They're going to be the last domino to go. We're going to be the dominoes in between here. So we got to keep our ducks in line from like a lot of different facets. And this kid, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to truly, like I said, I work hard, and I look for different things to present to people, and 99.99 or more % of it I reject because I think it's garbage. Now, unfortunately, sometimes, I'm just going to say this at the end of the channel here, sometimes some of the things I don't think are very good that they take off, and I was like, I didn't make them take off. People like gravitate to giddy stuff, and I'm like, I don't play that game, man. I'm really being true blue honest all the way. So anyway, Mr. Rocky the Cat is being good cat over there, not stepping on the microphone, or Goldie or whatever those other cats. And, these guys are my business partners, man, so I take care of them. They get good food. They're on a payroll. I got their, what is it? The IRS hasn't been going after them yet because they're animals. But wait till Hillary comes in. Hillary is going to be trying to tax cats. Watch. She's a witch. Anyway, but I'll be the cat CPA. So anyway, sort of a cat protector of assets. How's that? All right, over and out.